New businesses registration at the Attorney General's office during the COVID-19 era surged by more than half as the economic fallout from the pandemic pushed many Kenyans to seek state tenders and into entrepreneurship. In the wake of layoffs and job cuts, data from the Registrar of Companies shows business names registered between April and November rose to 58.5% to 65,782 compared to 41,490 names registered in a similar period last year. As many Kenyans rush to open companies, what is the process of business registration and what duration does it take to open a business? I spoke to Kageni Kimathi, a commercial lawyer at MMTK firm.
Several things that one needs to find out even before you start the process. First of all, what kind of business do you want to engage in? A business that is for profit and a business that is not for profit will require different vehicles during registration.
Secondly, let's talk about profits, or rather, let's talk about the duration that it takes to open a company. How long does it take to open a company and get the whole documentation?
What is required when registering a company is, let me start by saying that with the digitalization of that process, things have become much easier. However, there are still steps that one would require legal advice when you're going through that process. So the first step is identifying the names. Right now you have to identify at least 3 names that you submit to the Registrar of Companies in order of preference. Whichever name will go through is that is the name that will be used to register the company. Another requirement is the details of the shareholders and the directors. By details, I mean ID name, ID number, residential address, where the plot number, the age. Yes. Another requirement is one has to specify what the company will be dealing.
What is the difference between a company and an NGO, a non-governmental organization?
Opening a company and businesses and also the general partnerships all happen under the Registrar of Companies, and that will be required to take this process through their e-citizen portal. However, for a trust or a foundation, an NGO, those are governed by different bodies. For an NGO, one needs to register it under the National Coordination Board. For a foundation or a trust, one will be required to go through the lands office. For company limited by guarantee, which is also which can also be used for charitable purposes, is registered under the Registrar of Companies.
Now, to my final question, Kageni, according to the registrar coming out and saying that over 100,000 companies were opened, do Kenyans really understand what it takes to file returns for the specific companies? You find that many Kenyans have opened companies, but they are not in operation.
I would say that the sensitization about company returns and filing tax returns for companies, or even generally how to maintain a company in Kenya, has not been quite adequate. The relevant bodies in terms of KRA, or even, let's say, the bodies in charge of accountants or lawyers, should take this up and also continually educate Kenyans on how to maintain companies, because companies are required to continue running the economy. So when it comes to taxes, most of the companies that most of the people that we engage in that run companies at times do not have an idea that apart from them filing their own individual accounts or taxes, they also have to file for the company. And I would also say that the process has not been simplified enough for even a common person to be able to file these returns. That is the challenge that I would say causes many Kenyans not either to neglect filing at all, or even when they start the process, they think it's such an uphill task and therefore neglect.